welcome to a new video of GeoNut. In this video we will look at the geographical advantages of India over China in case of a conflict. Not taking into consideration any allies or any other organizations such as Quad. Much has been said about how China's rapidly growing economy has led to increasing power disparity between India and China over the last 2 decades. Is this power disparity really matter in case of a war-like scenario? India shares 3,488 kilometers of border with China that runs along the states and union territory of Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh. The border is not fully demarcated. The area is characterized by high-altitude terrain and thick habitation which have resulted in inadequate development of infrastructure in these regions. The Himalayan mountain range is acting as a natural barrier between both these countries. If there is any war-like scenario happening in this region, it will be very difficult for soldiers to fight because of the high altitude. The amount of oxygen will be less in the atmosphere. Indian soldiers will be more adapted to this situation than their counterpart. India is one of the best in mountain warfare in the world. Indian forces are currently deployed in the highest battlefield in the world called Siachen. Indians have learned their lesson from the 1962 Indo-Sino War. This high-altitude terrains not only suit the India Army which will help the Air Force too. China having a more advanced and large Air Force which includes their 5th-generation fighter aircraft J-20. But the airport which they need to operate this aircraft near the India border such as Luns Airport, Ngari Burang Airport and Shigatse Tingri Airport. All are at a higher altitude compared to the Indian airport which are on the plains. Taking off from a high-altitude airport has a disadvantage of only able to take off with a lesser load. In this case lesser weapons. And also in paper China have more surface-to-air missiles than India, but in case of a conflict in Himalayan region it will not give that much of an advantage. Surface-to-air missiles can only have a lesser range in mountainous terrain. If a SAM is placed in a valley it will only have a range within the valley. So the fighter aircraft can fly low to avoid any detection and use their surface-to-ground weapons to destroy the SAM battery. So the gap between the air force of 2 countries shown on paper will not be there when it came to a real scenario. India's air force with their Rafale fighter with Meteor missile will be very lethal in this situation. When it comes to the sea, India has enjoyed one area of strategic advantage over China for many years. Chinese industry relies on shipping routes that move goods and oil through the Malacca Strait between Malaysia and Indonesia. This narrow waterway is a perfect choke point. India's natural position in the Indian Ocean, with basing capabilities in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands at the mouth of the strait, would allow its navy to cut it off in the event of a crisis or war. If India wanted to cut off trade with China, all that they have to do is park a bunch of ships at the Straits of Malacca. And that's it, nothing else is getting through that way. Historically, the vast majority of China's oil imports, from the Persian Gulf, Venezuela and Angola, go by this route. However, China is making moves that could render ineffective any Indian attempt to block the straits. As part of the Belt and Road Initiative, they are building a new port in Pakistan. And the opening of the Northern Sea route in the Arctic could create a polar Silk Road. Both offer ways around the Malacca vulnerability. This much said, there is not any chance of a full-scale war between India and China because both are developing countries. So they will not be interested in wasting their time and wealth fighting each other, and both have good bilateral trade relations. Most importantly, both are nuclear nations.
This being a 5-minute video, we have only included some geographical advantage of India over China. If you need a detailed video on this topic, write in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing to this channel.